So I'd heard a week or so ago about these TSA enhanced pat-down procedures they're using at airports. So I've been reading up on that, and that's what this video is about. The enhanced pat-downs come in conjunction with the heavier rollout of those backscatter machines. Everybody's saying it's like a strip search machine. If you opt out of going through those machines, they have these pat-downs that they give you. There have always been pat-downs, but at the end of October, the TSA released a pretty quiet press release saying that they were going to begin implementing these, what they're calling enhanced pat-downs. One of the underlying issues, before we can get to the problem with the pat-downs, is the problems with the machines. Nobody's really happy about the way that they implemented these scanners. Several, groups, advocacy groups and unions and stuff, they don't think that the safety has been tested. Pilot unions and flight attendant unions have recommended to their members that they opt out of the machines because of the concerns about the radiation and the, longer-term health effects that might happen. There are privacy concerns of, are they storing the images and what are they doing with them if they're storing them? Big brother concerns, as well as just privacy issues as far as modesty, and people worry that these people on the other side of the wall are gawking at their virtually naked bodies. There's also some concerns as far as why is our government awarding this sort of exclusive contract to the producers of these machines, and why are they using the stimulus package money to do it, using that money to reinforce the police state, as it's been called. So it's all these various concerns about the machine which lead people to wanting to opt out of going through that scanner. Now, the machines have been in quite a few airports for a little while already. So there are lots of travelers who are already familiar with the opt-out, pat-down procedure. So most of the accounts that I've read about are from people who travel on a somewhat regular basis and are familiar with the security process at airports, and have even opted out previously, but this time they had a different experience. And several of these people are likening it to sexual assault, if not explicitly calling it sexual assault. Unfortunately for the TSA, who says no one's being sexually assaulted anywhere at all, people have a habit of defining sexual assault for themselves. And when you start grabbing crotches without proper notice in public spaces, sexual assault is indeed one of the definitions they might come up with. I haven't been able to find a description of the enhanced pat-down procedure, where they would actually tell an employee, a TSA employee, how to perform the pat-down. I can't find that anywhere. Other people I've read comments aren't able to find it either. Reports in the media from people who have been through this pat-down procedure say that, in effect, people aren't really given the opportunity to give informed consent. Uninformed consent, sure, but informed, no. Erin, who is what's called a mommy blogger on our little chatterboxes, went through this experience, and she writes, "Because I was traveling with baby formula, I knew to expect that they would test it with the paper circles for explosives. The TSA agent took all of my belongings over to the table in the center of the explosive screening tables. She asked me, 'Are you aware of the new policies for carrying liquids through security that were instated 4 years ago?' Capitalized to show emphasis that she placed on that word. I replied, 'Yes, I fly with him every several weeks.' She scanned the formula, then turned to me and said, 'Remove your shoes and stand on that black mat for a pat-down.' I said, 'Okay, what do I do with the baby?' 'You cannot be holding him.' In parentheses, I'm traveling alone. So I placed him into his stroller. She instructed me, 'Spread your feet apart and hold your arms out to the side.' I obliged. She patted my left arm, my right arm, my upper back, and my lower back. She then said, 'I need to reach in and feel along the inside of your waistband.' She felt along my waistline, moved behind me, then proceeded to feel both of my buttocks. She reached from behind in the middle of my buttocks towards my vagina area. She did not tell me that she was going to touch my buttocks or reach forward to my vagina area. She then moved in front of me and touched the top and underneath portions of both of my breasts. She did not tell me that she was going to touch my breasts. She then felt around my waist. She then moved to the bottoms of my legs. She then felt my inner thighs and my vagina area, touching both of my labia. She did not tell me that she was going to touch my vagina area or my labia. She then told me that I could put my shoes on, and I asked if I could pick up the baby. She replied yes. She then moved back to my belongings to finish scanning them with the paper discs for explosives. When she finished, she said I was free to go. I stood there holding my baby in shock. I did not move for almost a minute. I stood there, an American citizen, a mom traveling with a baby with special needs formula, sexually assaulted by a government official. I began shaking and felt completely violated, abused, and assaulted by the TSA agent. I shook for several hours and woke up the next day shaking. Here is why I was sexually assaulted. She never told me the new body search policy. She never told me that she was going to touch my private parts. She never told me when or where she was going to touch me. She did not inform me that a private screening was available. She did not inform me of my rights that were part of these new enhanced pat-down procedures. When I booked my ticket, I was given no information that the TSA had changed their wand and unintrusive pat-down procedures to enhanced pat-down procedures that involved the touching of all parts of your body, including breasts and vagina on women and testicles and penis on men. I was not informed by any signs on the front side of security about the new procedures. I had not seen any media coverage about the issue, so I had no idea that this was a new government-sanctioned policy. Another important piece in this story: the Dayton airport does not have the new body scanners. I was not given any other search options. It was enhanced pat-down or nothing. Here's a woman who didn't even have an option, and she even tells us that if she had a choice, she would have opted for the body scanner. And don't you know it, we've got some gender equality happening because men, too, are telling media that their pat-downs felt like sexual assault. So what happens if you try to opt out of the opting out? If you say, no, I don't want to go through the scanner, and then you find out what you're in for with the, if you're lucky enough to find out what you're in for with the pat-down before you're in the middle of it, and you say, oh, no, 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 not for me, are you allowed to do that? From what I've read, no, you face a fine of possible $10,000, some sort of further investigation, because I guess, well, they'll say, well, they've got to wonder why you're so intent on getting out of this simple little pat-down. What have you got to hide? In fact, some of the comments that I saw out there on the various news articles and blogs that I was reading, in a few places, that's pretty much what people were saying. Was, well, if you've got a problem with this, then you've got something to hide, or get over yourself for the sake of national security, so on and so forth. The TSA wants to reassure us that, hey, it's a same-gendered officer who's doing the check, so it's not like it's some, heterosexual opposite-sex assault that you're dealing with. As if they don't understand that sexual assault isn't about the sex. It's about the assault. And believe it, these are assaults. These are assaults on a person's ability to travel freely, secure in their person, and secure in their effects. It's an assault on the Fourth Amendment, the right to be secure against unreasonable searches and seizures. That these assaults are carried out through the violation of personal boundaries, space, and flesh. It's really no surprise. It's time-tested, well-proven method of control. And I'll leave on a note of YouTube topicality. How will this affect transgender individuals? It's humiliating and embarrassing and traumatic enough for anyone to go through such a thing. But what if you have to worry about the agent who is patting you down, discovering that you're not the gender that you present as? I wonder if they are educating the TSA agents that some people are actually required to live as the gender they are transitioning to. Just food for thought, I guess. But thanks for listening.